WW2 cold open in medias res. The morning air in the Italian mountains tastes like copper and stone. September 12, 1944. Gothic line. 2,475 yards of empty space between Margaret Winterhawk and a man who needs to die. She crouches behind Corporal Elijah Cross, her weathered hands steady on the scope adjustment knob. 50 years old, Lakota. Gray roots bleeding through black hair she keeps tied tight against her neck. Skin the color of tanned leather from 2 wars spent in places women weren't supposed to be. Cross is shaking. Not much. Just enough that the crosshairs drift. "Breathe," Maggie says. Her voice carries the flat certainty of physics. "In through your nose. 4 counts. Hold for 7. Private Garrett Sullivan lies prone 3 feet to their left, squinting through the surveyor's rangefinder he borrowed from the engineer corps without asking. 44 years old, Montana mining stock, hands scarred from handling dynamite and blasting caps before the First War. Face weathered from 2 decades in the Rockies. He's been measuring the same distance for 40 minutes, triple-checking numbers that don't change. "Ma'am," Sullivan whispers. 2,475 yards, that's confirmed. 1.4 miles. The rifle between them is older than the war. Peterson model 1913, serial number 23891, manufactured in Philadelphia in March of 1916. Officially withdrawn from United States military service in August 1918 after it jammed in the hands of 47 Marines at WW2 and got them killed. Officially a catastrophic failure. Unofficially, in Maggie Winterhawk's hands, it has killed 617 men who thought distance meant safety. Maggie adjusts the elevation dial. 3 clicks. "Wind?" she asks. Sullivan checks the grass downrange. 8 miles per hour, left to right, variable gusts to 10. Maggie closes her eyes. The numbers arrange themselves like soldiers falling into formation. This is the shot that will prove everything, or prove nothing mattered. 2 Huzrun flashback 26 years earlier. Mini climax number 1, 2080, June 1918. Peterson Arms Factory, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Maggie Winterhawk stands in the test range, 24 years old, the only woman in a building of 300 men. The rifle in her hands is 3 days old, fresh from final assembly. It smells like gun oil and possibility. "Whenever you're ready, Miss Winterhawks." The rangemaster calls. 60 years old, balding, skeptical of women who claim they can shoot. Less skeptical after watching Maggie put 10 rounds through a playing card at 300 yards last week. The target is 600 yards downrange. Standard military torso silhouette. She loads 5 rounds, chambers the first, finds the natural respiratory pause between breaths. She fires. 4 more rounds, 5 seconds between shots. When she's finished, the rangemaster walks downrange with a measuring tape. 3 minutes later, he returns. His face has changed. 6-inch group, he says, reverence in his voice. All 5 rounds inside a 6-inch circle at 600 yards. The Springfield makes 18-inch groups under identical conditions, 3 times less accurate. "This is the most accurate rifle I've ever seen," the rangemaster says. Maggie cleans the Peterson methodically. The rifle is a tool, like a microscope. It must be maintained to function at peak performance. 3 days later, the telegram arrives from France. WW2, Second Battle, June 6, 1918. 47 Marines carry Peterson rifles. 47 Peterson rifles jam in the mud and heat. 47 Marines die trying to clear malfunctions while German machine guns cut them apart. The telegram doesn't provide details, just casualty count, weapon failure rate, request for immediate investigation. Maggie reads it 3 times. Her hands don't shake. Not yet. That comes later, alone in the dark. Exaggeration. Context: who is Maggie? Margaret Winterhawk learned shooting from her father. Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota. Born 1894. Lakota Sioux. Her father was a master gunsmith who'd learned his trade from a German immigrant in Rapid City, then brought those skills back to the reservation. By 8 years old, Maggie could field strip a Winchester 1894. By 12, she could calculate windage in her head. By 16, she could outshoot every man on the reservation. Her father sent her to boarding school in Philadelphia, run by Quakers who believed Indians could be educated if you stripped away their culture and replaced it with civilization. Maggie let them try. She learned English, mathematics, science. She learned how white people thought. She learned, most importantly, that their rules were conventions, not natural laws. And conventions could be broken if you were smart enough and careful enough and willing to pay the cost. At 18, she applied to the University of Pennsylvania, mechanical engineering. They rejected her. Women didn't study engineering. She applied again, sent letters, showed up at the admissions office once a week for 3 months. A dean finally took pity, admitted her as a provisional case. She graduated 4 years later, top of her class, the only woman in a graduating cohort of 47 men. Peterson Arms hired her in 1916, initially as a secretary. She lasted 3 days before wandering down to the test range and asking if she could try shooting the prototype rifles. The rangemaster laughed. Then he watched her shoot. Then he stopped laughing and went to find the chief engineer. 2 weeks later, she had a desk in the ballistics department, not equal pay, not equal respect, but a desk, and access to rifles and the space to prove what she knew. WW2 The Catastrophe, Mini-Climax Number 2, 12/00/20. The factory director calls an emergency meeting 3 days after Belleau Wood. Department heads, engineers, accountants who measure lives in production costs and liability exposure. "We're terminating the Peterson contract," the director announces. "No preamble. The weapon is a catastrophic failure. We'll suspend production immediately. Existing inventory will be recalled and destroyed." Maggie stands, 24 years old, youngest person in the room, only woman. "The weapon isn't the failure," she says. Every head turns. "Those Marines died because someone tried to use a precision instrument as a battle rifle. The Peterson has chamber tolerances of .055 inches. The Springfield has .074. Tighter tolerances mean higher pressure, means higher velocity, means better accuracy. But tighter tolerances also mean less forgiveness for dirt and debris, which makes it useless in combat," the director says. "Which makes it useless for rapid-fire infantry combat," Maggie corrects. "For precision work, for snipers, for long-range designated marksmen, this rifle is the best tool America has. For a role we don't have doctrine for, then write the doctrine." The meeting continues for 40 minutes. Accountants argue costs. Lawyers argue liability. In the end, the decision stands. Production terminated. 148,000 Peterson rifles to be recalled and destroyed. Maggie walks back to her station. She's supposed to surrender all test rifles for inventory and destruction. Instead, she takes 12. Serial numbers she memorized during testing. The tightest shooting examples, the ones where barrel harmonics and chamber dimensions aligned perfectly. She crates them carefully, labels the crate "Rejected Components, Scrap Metal." Nobody checks scrap metal. That night, she begins writing. Not a report for the factory, a manual. Everything she knows about precision shooting, about ballistics, about wind reading and breathing control and trigger discipline. About how to use a Peterson rifle the way it was meant to be used. 300 pages eventually. Page 1, the Peterson Model 1913. Not a failure of engineering, a failure of imagination. The tool is perfect, the application was wrong. She knows someone who needs this, her brother. 20-some server. Cliffhanger number 1. The brother, Corporal Nathaniel Winterhawk, 28 years old, 1st Infantry Division, currently somewhere in France. Nathaniel writes letters, not often, usually after something bad. His last letter arrived 2 weeks before Belleau Wood. Sister, the officers wanted me for sniper school, said my shooting scores were high enough. Then they saw my name, saw my face, decided Indians lack the discipline for precision work. So I'm a rifleman. Springfield, 1903. Good rifle, doesn't shoot fancy. Sometimes I think about that Peterson you showed me before I shipped out. The one that grouped 6 inches at 600 yards. Out here they tell us anything past 400 is luck. I know better. Love, Nathaniel. Maggie reads that letter 11 times the night she steals the Peterson rifles. Her brother can't get into sniper school because of his race. The rifle that could make him the best sniper in the American Expeditionary Force is being destroyed because officers used it wrong. 2 problems, 1 solution. She writes a careful letter, coded. Nothing that would get flagged by military censors. Dear brother, the project I told you about has been canceled. Management says the tool is defective. I disagree. The tool is perfect. The application was wrong. I've saved 12 examples, best of the lot. If you know anyone who might benefit from precision tools, let me know. I'm willing to provide instruction. Your sister, Margaret. She mails it June 15, 1918. The reply comes August 2nd. 3 words, send the tools. 2 weeks later, Maggie ships a crate to France. Marked personal effects. Inside 1 Peterson rifle. Serial number 86402. 200 rounds of hand-selected ammunition, and a 50-page instruction manual on long-range precision shooting. What happens next will change warfare and haunt Maggie Winterhawk for the rest of her life. Transition to Nathaniel's War. September 1918. Somewhere in France that Nathaniel's letters can't name. The Peterson rifle arrives in a wooden crate marked with Maggie's careful handwriting. Nathaniel opens it at night, away from officers who might ask questions about non-standard equipment. The rifle is beautiful. 30.5-inch barrel, straight pull bolt action, fitted with a Warner and Swayze telescopic sight, 5.2x magnification. He reads Maggie's manual by candlelight, wind reading, breathing discipline, ammunition selection, range estimation, the mathematics of long-range precision fire. She's written formulas, diagrams, corrections for temperature and humidity and altitude. It's not a shooting manual. It's a textbook on applied ballistic physics. September 8, 1918 dawn. Nathaniel's first shot with the Peterson. German officer examining maps near a forward command post, distance 650 yards. Nathaniel follows Maggie's instructions, finds the natural respiratory pause, accounts for wind, calculates drop. The trigger breaks clean. 650 yards away, the German officer falls. Nobody in Nathaniel's unit understands what just happened. The Germans don't understand either. 650 yards is beyond effective range for standard infantry rifles. Nathaniel cycles the bolt. Straight pull action, fast, quiet. He withdraws before anyone can locate his position. That evening he writes to Maggie. 3 sentences. First kill, 650 yards. Peterson rifle functions perfectly. Then he adds, request additional instruction on wind reading at extended range. She spends the next week calculating advanced wind formulas. The killing becomes methodical after that. September 15th, 720 yards. German machine gunner. September 22nd, 810 yards. German officer. New personal record. October 1st, 790 yards. German sniper. Counter-sniper engagement. The numbers climb. The distance extends. By October 15th, Nathaniel has 63 confirmed kills. The highest-scoring American sniper has 20. Nobody knows about Nathaniel. He operates alone, off-book, with a rifle that doesn't officially exist. Maggie tracks every shot in her notebook. Distance, wind, temperature. Result. Data accumulates. She refines her formulas. Her next letter includes updated ballistics tables. Techniques for reading wind at distances where you can't see grass move. She's building a system. Weapon plus mathematics plus training equals precision. Precision equals dead enemies. Dead enemies equal allied soldiers who survive. The logic is clean. The ethics are complicated. 3000. Cliffhanger number 2. The Germans notice. October 1918. German 8th Army Headquarters receives an intelligence report, typed on a torpedo typewriter, filed in 3 separate locations because the information is disturbing. 15 September 1918. Forward observation post reports unusual enemy sniper activity. Lieutenant Hans Richter killed at estimated range of 650 meters. Single shot. No follow-up engagement. Sniper position not located. The report continues. 18 September. Feldwebel Kurt Schneider killed. 720 meters single shot. 22 September. Oberleutnant Wilhelm Kraus killed. 810 meters. 27 German soldiers killed in 6 weeks. All single shots. All at ranges exceeding 600 meters. The intelligence officer adds his assessment. Recommend immediate investigation of Allied weapons development. Americans demonstrate precision rifle capability beyond known technology. Counter-sniper operations authorized. Priority critical. The report circulates through command levels, eventually reaches Oberst Friedrich Hartmann, 53 years old, career officer, veteran of 2 years on the Western Front. 810 meters, he says to his aide. With standard infantry rifles, this is impossible. He writes orders. Deploy the Gegenscharfschützen. Find this American. Capture his rifle if possible. Kill him if necessary, but stop him. The Germans have no idea they're hunting a Lakota corporal with a rifle his own army threw away. They have no idea the real architect is a 24-year-old woman in a Philadelphia factory. They have no idea that precision isn't about technology, it's about mathematics, and mathematics doesn't care about national boundaries. 3500, the price of precision. Mini-climax 335-042-0. August 18th, 1918. The telegram arrives at Peterson Arms Factory on a Tuesday morning. Western Union. Yellow paper. The kind that carries news nobody wants. Maggie is testing ammunition when the clerk brings it. She knows before opening. You always know. Regret to inform. Sergeant Thaddeus Blackstone, 50th Infantry Battalion. Killed in action, 18 August 1918. Thaddeus Blackstone, Cherokee from Oklahoma, 30 years old, farmer, 3 children, wife named Sarah. Maggie taught him to shoot, not officially, never officially. But in evenings after factory shifts, at a private range 20 miles from Philadelphia, she taught him wind reading, breathing control, ammunition selection, how to clean a Peterson rifle until it functioned like a laboratory instrument. She taught him to kill at 800 yards. She didn't teach him to survive. The telegram sits on her workbench. She stares at it for 10 minutes. Doesn't move. Doesn't cry. That comes later. She walks to the ladies' washroom, locks herself in a stall. Then she breaks. Not loud. Showing emotion in a factory full of men is weakness, but the tears come hard enough to hurt, silent sobs that shake her shoulders. Thaddeus had shown her pictures of his children. 3 boys, ages 7, 5, and 2. They'll grow up without a father because Maggie Winterhawk taught him mathematics. That night in her journal she writes, I taught Thaddeus to kill from 800 yards. I gave him formulas. I gave him a rifle that could put a bullet through a man's heart at distances where other weapons just make noise. But I didn't teach him to watch for counter-snipers. I didn't teach him to move after every shot. I didn't teach him that being good at killing makes you a priority target. My arrogance killed him. The math doesn't account for the German sniper who studied Thaddeus for 3 days, who learned his patterns, who waited until Thaddeus focused on a target and couldn't see the threat. I trained him to hunt. I should have trained him to survive. The difference is 3 children without a father. She closes the journal, opens it again, writes one more line. I need to go to France. I need to train them properly in person where I can see what they're doing wrong before it gets them killed. It's illegal. Civilians don't enter combat zones, women especially. She doesn't care. Thaddeus Blackstone is dead because she wasn't there. She won't let that happen to Nathaniel. 200. Cliffhanger number 3. The decision. October 29, 1918. Maggie boards a troop ship in New York Harbor. Not as official passenger. The Army doesn't grant travel permits to civilian women who want to visit the front lines. She boards as a Red Cross volunteer. The Red Cross is desperate for personnel. They ask minimal questions. Maggie lies about medical training. Says she worked in hospitals. She didn't. But she's competent enough to wrap bandages and steady enough not to panic at blood. They give her a uniform and a ticket. The crossing takes 12 days. North Atlantic in late October. Storm season. Most passengers spend the voyage sick. Maggie spends it studying maps, planning, calculating routes from St. Nazaire to Nathaniel's sector. They dock November 10th. Finding Nathaniel takes 2 days of walking. Asking questions, following lies and half-truths between units. Finally, a lieutenant recognizes the name. Corporal Winterhawk, the sniper. He's my brother. The lieutenant's face changes, respect mixed with something else, fear maybe. Ma'am, your brother is the most dangerous man in this sector. The Germans have a bounty on him, 5,000 marks, dead or alive. Where is he? Rest area, 3 miles west. She finds him that evening. Forward rest area, barn with 3 walls and most of a roof. 60 men sleeping on straw. Nathaniel sees her first. He's cleaning the Peterson rifle, serial number 86402, the one she sent in September. He stands slowly, sets the rifle down with the care of a man handling something holy. Maggie. They don't hug, not in front of the unit, but his eyes say everything. You're not supposed to be here, he says quietly. Thaddeus is dead. Nathaniel's jaw tightens. He knew. News travels fast. I trained him wrong, Maggie says. I gave him skills to kill, not skills to survive. You gave him more than the Army ever did. It wasn't enough. They sit on ammunition crates outside, darkness falling, artillery rumbling. How many now? Maggie asks. Nathaniel pulls his notebook, opens to the current page. Tally marks, dates, distances. 341 confirmed, another 100 probable. 341. 341 men who woke up one morning and died before the sound of the shot reached them. 341 because Maggie Winterhawk taught her brother mathematics. I'm here to train the others, she says. The ones you gave rifles to, I need to teach them to stay alive. The war might end any day. Rumors say armistice is close. Then we have days. Let me use them. 48 Undre. Mini climax for the mission. November 10th, 1918. Evening. Nathaniel's unit receives orders. German command post identified. Radio equipment, artillery coordination center. Officers planning defensive positions. If peace doesn't come, that command post coordinates artillery that kills 50 Allied soldiers per day. Someone wants it eliminated. The plan is simple. Infiltrate within range. Engage. Displace. The execution is complicated. The command post is 930 yards from the nearest concealed position, more than half a mile. Beyond effective range for standard rifles, within range for a Peterson if you know the mathematics. Nathaniel knows because Maggie taught him. But tonight, Maggie is here to calculate it herself. They move into position 3 hours before dawn. 13 people. Nathaniel, 11 other snipers Maggie has been training. Maggie herself, and Private Garrett Sullivan, 18 years old, Montana kid, mining family, volunteered last year. Good with numbers. Maggie has been teaching him to spot, to calculate, to understand that sniping is mathematics with consequences. They reach firing position at 0430 hours. German command post sits in a valley. Tents, radio antenna, lights from lanterns, officers moving between positions. Nathaniel sets up with the Peterson. Maggie lies beside him with a spotting scope and notebook. Sullivan is on rangefinder duty. Distance confirmed, Sullivan whispers. 930 yards. Maggie begins calculations. Temperature 6 degrees Celsius. Humidity 83%. Wind variable. 3 to 7 miles per hour from northwest. Altitude differential 140 feet. Shooting downhill. That changes trajectory. She runs numbers, scribbles corrections, checks twice. Elevation 8.2 minutes of angle, she whispers to Nathaniel. Windage 1.5 minutes right. He adjusts the scope. 7 targets visible. Officers first, then radio operators, prioritized by rank insignia. Nathaniel finds the first target. German Hauptmann examining maps by lantern light. The trigger breaks clean. 930 yards away, the Hauptmann drops. Confusion in the German camp. Nobody understands what happened. Nathaniel cycles the bolt. Straight pull action. Fast. Quiet. Second target. Radio operator. The mathematics account for everything. Distance, wind, cold air density. Second shot hits. Now Germans know they're under fire, but they don't know from where. 930 yards is beyond their training. Officers run for cover. Radio operators abandon equipment. Nathaniel fires 5 more shots. 7 total. 5 hits. German command post dissolves into chaos. Artillery coordination stops. Fire missions go unanswered. Displace now, Maggie orders. They move fast, back through the ravine. Behind them, shells start falling, exactly where they were 2 minutes ago. Close enough to feel the concussion. Too late to matter. 0 friendly casualties. 7 enemy dead. German artillery disrupted for 6 hours. American infantry advances 2 miles in that window. Intelligence estimates 40 American soldiers don't die because artillery couldn't coordinate. 40 lives saved. 7 lives taken. The mathematics balance. Sort of. Fate was the armistice and return. November 11th, 1918. 11:00 a.m. An armistice. The war ends. Soldiers on both sides climb from trenches and stare at each other across no man's land. Like they're waking from a fever dream. Nobody shoots. The mathematics of killing become irrelevant at exactly 11 o'clock. Nathaniel Winterhawk's final tally, 378 confirmed kills. Highest scoring American sniper of World War I. Triple the average of British snipers. 5 times the average of German snipers. All with a weapon the United States Army declared a catastrophic failure. The unit celebrates that night. Maggie doesn't. She sits alone outside the barn watching smoke from distant fires. Sullivan finds her. Ma'am, you should be proud. Your brother's alive. The war's over. We won. 378 people are dead because I taught mathematics. 378 enemy soldiers who were trying to kill us. Does that make it clean? Does context erase the blood? Sullivan doesn't have an answer. Neither does Maggie. 6000. Cliffhanger number 4. The Reckoning. December 1918. Military police find Maggie in Paris. She's waiting for civilian transport. Living in a boarding house. Working nights in a hospital because her Red Cross credentials obligate her now. 2 MPs. Young. Professional. Margaret Winterhawk, you're under arrest for unauthorized entry into a combat zone. Violation of military regulations. You'll need to come with us. She doesn't resist. The trial takes 40 minutes. Did you enter combat zones restricted to military personnel? I did. Did you provide tactical instruction to active combat units? I did. Did you accompany combat operations in forward positions? I did. The captain looks tired. The war just ended. He has better things to do. $500 fine, to be paid within 90 days. You'll be escorted to the next available transport to the United States. Your Red Cross credentials are revoked. You're prohibited from returning to France. $500, 6 months of her factory salary, worth every penny. They put her on a ship 2 days later, back to Philadelphia, back to a factory shutting down production lines. She arrives December 28th. There's a letter waiting, military stationery, official seal. She opens it expecting another fine. Instead, it's a commendation. The United States Army recognizes improved sniper doctrine and training methodologies implemented during final months of hostilities. New training manual for designated marksmen in development. Implementation scheduled for 1920. The letter is signed by a colonel she's never heard of. It doesn't mention her name. It doesn't credit her work. It doesn't acknowledge that every technique came from 300 pages she wrote by lamplight. The Army is taking her mathematics and erasing her from the equation. She burns the letter in her kitchen sink, watches it turn to ash. They can have the techniques. She'll keep the knowledge that she saved her brother's life. 23 years later, they'll ask for her help again. And she'll have to decide if mathematics are worth more blood. 60 German intelligence report. The document arrives at German 8th Army Headquarters, October 1918. Intelligence section, typed on torpedo typewriter. Carbon copies filed in 3 locations. The report begins with facts. 15 September 1918. Forward observation post near Bois de Belleau reports unusual enemy sniper activity. German Lieutenant Hans Richter killed at estimated range of 650 meters, single shot, no follow-up engagement, sniper position not located despite immediate counterfire. The list continues, page after page. By page 3, the pattern is undeniable. 27 German soldiers killed in 6 weeks, all single shots, all at ranges exceeding 600 meters, all in sectors facing the same American division. The intelligence officer adds his assessment. Recommend immediate investigation of Allied weapons development. Americans demonstrate precision rifle capability beyond known technology. Possible British provide advanced equipment to colonial forces. Counter sniper operations authorized. Priority critical. The report circulates. Eventually reaches Oberst Friedrich Hartmann. 53 years old, career officer, a man who has seen enough death that little surprises him. This surprises him. 810 meters, he says to his aide. With standard infantry rifles, this is impossible. The Americans acquired Gewehr 98 rifles, the aide suggests. Perhaps captured our weapons. Our snipers don't achieve these ranges consistently. Hartmann taps the report. This is something else, something new. He writes orders, deploy the Gegenscharfschützen, the counter-snipers, find this American, capture his rifle if possible, kill him if necessary, but stop him. The Germans have no idea they're hunting a Lakota corporal with a rifle his own army threw away. They have no idea the real architect is a 24-year-old woman who has never fired a shot in anger. They have no idea precision isn't about technology, it's about mathematics. And mathematics doesn't take sides. 65 Zodrud. Maggie's return to normal. January 1919. Maggie returns to Philadelphia, to a city celebrating victory. Parades, confetti, men in uniform kissing women in the streets. She doesn't celebrate. She returns to an apartment that feels smaller than she remembers, to a factory that's laying off workers, to a life that doesn't fit anymore. Peterson Arms is shutting down military contracts, transitioning to sporting rifles, hunting weapons. The war is over. Nobody needs instruments of precision death anymore. Maggie's position is eliminated. politely. With 2 weeks severance and a recommendation letter that says nothing about what she actually did, she takes a job teaching mathematics at a school for Indian children. Back in South Dakota, back to the reservation where she was born. The pay is bad, the facilities are worse. The government that runs Indian schools doesn't believe in investing in people they're trying to erase. But Maggie teaches anyway. Fractions, algebra, geometry, the beauty of numbers, the power of calculation. Most of her students don't believe equations matter. Why would they? Indians don't get opportunities in America, just reservations and prejudice and broken promises. She doesn't tell them about France, about the Peterson rifle, about how mathematics killed 378 men and saved her brother's life. She just teaches and waits. Because she knows something the students don't. Wars end, but they always come back, and when they do, precision will matter again. 70 soldier. Cliffhanger number 5. 23 years later, January 1942. Maggie is 48 years old now, gray in her hair, lines around her eyes. 23 years of teaching children who don't believe in possibilities. The letter arrives on a Tuesday. War Department stationery. Official seal. She almost throws it away without opening. The last letter from the War Department was a commendation that didn't include her name. But something makes her look. Inside 3 sentences that change everything again. Mrs. Winterhawk, your expertise is required for classified ballistics project. Report to Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, no later than February 15, 1942. Travel expenses provided. Compensation details to follow upon arrival. Major General Charles Thompson, U.S. Army Ordnance Department. She reads it 3 times. The government that court-martialed her wants her back. The army that erased her from sniper doctrine wants her knowledge. The country that fined her $500 needs her again. Because there's another war, and precision matters. She sits at her kitchen table for an hour. The Peterson rifle leans in the corner. Not Nathaniel's. That one is buried with him according to Lakota tradition after he died in 1952 of pneumonia. This is her personal rifle, serial number 47103. One of the original 12 she took from the factory. She could refuse. Stay here. Stay safe. Stay forgotten. But Garrett Sullivan writes her letters. He's an instructor at Fort Benning now. Says the new manual has errors. Says the wind formulas don't account for altitude properly. Says trainees are missing shots they should make. People will die because of bad mathematics. That's not theoretical. That's ballistics. She writes a response. 1 word, coming. Then she starts packing. Her notebooks, formulas, 23 years of corrections and refinements. The Peterson rifle goes in her luggage. This time she's keeping records. This time they won't erase her. This time the mathematics get documented properly. 75 Zurd, Aberdeen Proving Ground. Mini Climax 575 Zurd 83 Zurd, February 1942. Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. The officer behind the desk doesn't look up when Maggie enters. He's reading a file. Her file. Though it can't be thick since the army erased most of her work. She waits, standing at attention even though she's civilian, even though she's 48 years old and her knees ache. Finally, he looks up. Major General Charles Thompson, 60 years old, West Point class of 1904. Face like weathered granite. Mrs. Winterhawk, General, you trained snipers in the last war, unofficially. Yes, sir. Your brother achieved the highest confirmed kill count of any American sniper, 378. That's correct. The British High Command said that was impossible. Claimed we inflated numbers for propaganda. Mathematics doesn't inflate, General. It calculates. Thompson almost smiles. We have a problem, Mrs. Winterhawk. Our sniper training is producing mediocre results. Average engagement range is 400 yards. Average kill ratio is 0.6 per deployed sniper. The Germans are achieving 600 yards and ratios of 2.1. The British are somewhere in between. You're teaching them wrong. Explain. Maggie reaches into her bag, pulls out a notebook, 23 years old, leather cracked, pages yellowed. But the mathematics inside are timeless. She sets it on his desk. Your training manual has 3 fundamental errors, she says. First, wind formula doesn't account for altitude differential. Second, breathing technique focuses on holding breath instead of finding natural respiratory pause. Third, scope zeroing assumes sea-level atmospheric pressure. Thompson opens the notebook, scans pages, mathematical formulas, diagrams, corrections. This is from 1918. Physics hasn't changed since 1918, General. He flips through more pages, stops at one, reads carefully. You documented every shot your brother took. Every shot I could verify. Distance, wind, temperature, humidity, result, 743 total engagements, 378 confirmed kills, 297 probable kills, 68 misses. You tracked his misses. Misses are more instructive than hits, General. They tell you where the mathematics broke down. Thompson closes the notebook, looks at her directly. I need you to train instructors, men who will train the next generation of American snipers. Pacific, Italy, France eventually. Our snipers need to outshoot German and Japanese marksmen by significant margins. I'll need access to rifles, ammunition, a proving ground, and you'll need to tolerate me correcting your officers when they're wrong. That might be difficult. Then your snipers will keep dying at 0.6 ratio while the enemy achieves 2.1. Thompson stands, extends his hand. You start Monday. Salary is $120 per month, GS-7 civilian rating. And Mrs. Winterhawk. Yes, General. This time we're going to document your work properly. 83 Uzur. 18 months of training. Maggie spends 18 months at Aberdeen, training instructors, correcting manuals, testing rifles and ammunition and optics. She's not allowed near combat troops directly. That would require commission or enlistment. The Army doesn't commission 48-year-old Indian women, but the instructors she trains go everywhere. Fort Benning, Camp Pendleton, Quantico. They carry her notebooks, her formulas, her corrections to 20 years of institutional incompetence. Slowly, American sniper doctrine changes. Engagement ranges extend from 400 yards to 600. Kill ratios improve from 0.6 to 1.4. Still not matching German performance, but closing the gap. The problem is the rifles. The Springfield 1903 is good, reliable, accurate enough, but not precision grade. Tolerance is too loose. Barrels mass-produced for durability rather than accuracy. Triggers military spec heavy pulls. Maggie knows a rifle that would outperform the Springfield. She still has 7 of the original 12 Peterson rifle. Distributed 5 to students who understood their value during the First War. All still functional. All still capable of 6-inch groups at 600 yards. In May 1943, she writes a proposal. Formal, typed, submitted through channels. Recommendation for implementation of Peterson M1913 rifle for designated marksmen. She details specifications. Performance data. Comparison to Springfield. The proposal dies in bureaucracy. Too expensive to restart production, too complicated to maintain. Too embarrassing to admit the Army was wrong 25 years ago. So Maggie goes unofficial again. She contacts former students, the ones from World War I who are now training World War II snipers. Garrett Sullivan is one. He's 42 now, sniper instructor at Fort Benning, still has the Peterson rifle she gave him in France. She tells them search military surplus. Find the Peterson rifles that were supposed to be destroyed but weren't. Bring them out of storage. Don't ask permission. Don't report them on manifests, just use them. Over the next year, 47 Peterson rifles enter World War II through the back door, 7 that Maggie kept, 5 with former students. 35 found in surplus warehouses and National Guard armories, where they'd been forgotten for 25 years. Nobody in Washington knows. Nobody in Washington cares to know. The bullets keep flying. The targets keep falling. The mathematics keep working. Cliffhanger number 6. Italy, September 1944. Maggie is 50 years old, too old for this, but she's in Italy anyway. Officially, she's a civilian ballistics consultant attached to 5th Army Sniper Training Program. Unofficially, she's following Corporal Elijah Cross. Cross trained at Aberdeen in 1943. One of her students, 26 years old, Montana ranch kid, grew up shooting coyotes at 500 yards. He shipped to Italy in January 1944. He's been writing her letters. Most say the same thing. Your mathematics work, ma'am, but I need better equipment. So Maggie sent him a Peterson rifle, serial number 203891, one of the 7 she kept, and now September 12th, 1944. She's on a hillside near the Gothic line, watching him prepare for a shot that every ballistics expert in the European theater says is impossible. 2475 yards. Sullivan lies beside her with a rangefinder. Same Sullivan she trained in France 26 years ago. 44 years old now. Silver in his hair, lines around his eyes from 2 decades in Montana mines. Still competent with numbers. Still believes in her. Ma'am, Sullivan whispers, that's nearly 1.5 miles. 1.4 miles exactly, Maggie corrects. Your rangefinder is accurate to within 5 yards. I verified calibration yesterday. Cross is shaking slightly. Not fear. Adrenaline. The human body knows when attempting something at the edge of physical possibility. Maggie has spent 45 minutes calculating. Temperature 18 Celsius. Humidity 65%. Barometric pressure 992 millibars. Wind 8 miles per hour left to right, variable gusts to 10. Distance 2,475 yards. Altitude differential 340 feet higher than target. She accounts for everything. Gravity, drag, air density, temperature effects on powder burn, the Coriolis effect, the rotation of the Earth. At this distance, shooting west to east, Earth's rotation pushes the bullet approximately 6 inches right. Most snipers don't know that. Most never shoot far enough for it to matter. Maggie knows. Learned it from a physics textbook in 1914. Applied it in calculations for Nathaniel in 1918. Refined it through decades of observation. Now she feeds corrections to Cross. Elevation 42 minutes of angle, windage 12 minutes left to compensate for crosswind and Coriolis. Bullet will drop 52 feet, time of flight is 8 seconds. In those 8 seconds, target might move. Assess his pattern. Cross watches through the scope. Hauptmann Friedrich Weber, German company commander, standing on a ridgeline examining defensive positions through binoculars. He's been standing there for 6 minutes, not moving much. Occasional shift, turn of head, generally static. He's stationary, ma'am. Account for his breathing. At this distance, you can't see it, but assume normal. 12 to 16 breaths per minute. That's 0.2 to 0.3 inch vertical movement of his chest. Your grouping diameter at this range is approximately 8 inches. His breathing is within error margin. Don't wait for a pause you can't observe. Shoot when wind settles. Cross nods. Finger rests on trigger. 2 pounds of pressure needed. Maggie watches grass downrange. Wind bending stems 8 miles per hour, gusting 9, now 7, now 5, a lull, maybe 10 seconds. Now, she whispers. 95 Sudred. The shot. Crossfires. The Peterson roars. Recoil pushes back. Muzzle rises slightly. The bullet leaves the barrel at 2,800 feet per second. Immediately, drag begins slowing it. By 500 yards, 2,400 feet per second. By 1,000 yards, transonic, right at the edge where physics gets complicated. By 1,500 yards, subsonic, 1,800 feet per second. Accuracy degrades significantly, but there's still enough velocity, still enough stability, still enough energy, if the mathematics are correct. 8 seconds, Maggie counts heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, downrange through Sullivan's spotting scope. Hauptmann Friedrich Weber drops. Not dramatic. Just there, then not there. Sullivan exhales hard. Jesus Christ, you actually hit him. Cross opens his eyes. He'd closed them. Couldn't watch. Ma'am, did I? Center mass, target down, we need to displace immediately. German mortars will range this position in 90 seconds based on sound and flash. They pack fast, scope off, rifle in case, equipment in packs. Moving low through scrub brush. Behind them, German artillery starts walking shells across the hillside. Exactly 90 seconds later, exactly where they were. Physics is predictable. Artillery officers understand mathematics too. 100,000. Nobody believes it. 3 miles away, American intelligence bunker. Radio operator receives field report, types it into the log. 1:45 hours. Forward observation reports enemy commander killed. Distance estimated 2 to 475 yards. Sniper Corporal E. Cross, weapon unknown, verification pending. A captain reads the log 30 minutes later, picks up red pencil, writes in margin, impossible. Verify distance measurement. No .30-06 cartridge achieves lethal accuracy at this range, probable exaggeration. The report gets filed, flagged for investigation. Nobody believes it. 2 days later, American patrol recovers Weber's body. They measure distance from his position to nearest American lines, 2,460 yards, close enough to Sullivan's measurement to confirm the bullet is still lodged in Weber's rib cage. Medical officer extracts it during field autopsy. Standard 30-006 Springfield, 174 grain boat tail. Fired from rifle with 6-groove rifling. Right-hand twist. Springfield rifles have 4-groove rifling. Medical officer makes note, bullet consistent with 30-06, but rifling pattern suggests non-standard weapon. Recommend ballistics analysis. The analysis never happens. Too many bodies, too many battles, too much war. Weber gets buried in German military cemetery near Florence. Death recorded as KIA. Cause sniper fire. Distance unknown. The impossible shot becomes another casualty statistic. Nobody connects it to a 50-year-old Lakota woman who spent 45 minutes doing calculus on a hillside. 105-0. Maggie's return. Mini-climax 6-105-0-112-0. October 1944. Maggie receives orders to return to United States. Fifth Army doesn't need civilian consultants anymore. War is moving. Doctrine is established. Training is functional. She's done her job. She boards transport ship in Naples, crosses Atlantic in convoy, arrives New York Harbor November 15th. No ceremony, no recognition, no medal, just a train ticket back to South Dakota and a check for $600 representing 4 months of consulting fees. She returns to the reservation. To the school where she teaches mathematics to Indian children who don't believe equations matter. She doesn't tell them about Italy, about the 24-75-yard shot. She just teaches fractions and tries to convince them numbers have power. Most don't believe her, but some do. One student, a quiet girl named Mary, 14 years old, asks questions about ballistics after class one day. Maggie sees something in her eyes. Curiosity, intelligence, the spark that can't be taught. She gives Mary extra homework, physics problems, trajectory calculations, wind resistance formulas. Mary solves them all, asks for more. Maybe Maggie thinks precision has uses beyond killing. Maybe mathematics can build instead of destroy. Maybe the legacy doesn't have to be blood. 1 Zozo. The war ends. May 1945. Germany surrenders. August 1945. Japan surrenders. The war is over. Someone in Ordnance Department compiles reports on weapons effectiveness. Sniper rifles, performance data, kill ratios, engagement ranges. The data shows something interesting. American snipers deployed 1943-1945 achieved average engagement ranges of 420 yards. Except for a small subset, 47 snipers spread across different units, different theaters, different campaigns. These 47 achieved average engagement ranges of 650 yards. Kill ratios of 2.3. Survival rates of 87% compared to 71% for conventional snipers. The analyst can't explain it. Same training, same doctrine, same basic weapons, different results. He digs deeper. Requests after action reports, equipment manifests, training records. Most records are incomplete. Wartime documentation is spotty, but a pattern emerges. All 47 trained at Aberdeen between February 1942 and June 1943. All were instructed by civilian consultants. One name appears repeatedly in margin notes: M. Winterhawk. Civilian ballistics consultant, GS7 rating. The analyst tries to find more information. Personnel file is thin, basic biographical data. Employment dates, security clearance, no details about specific contributions, no record of the mathematics that made 47 snipers 40% more effective. He writes recommendation. Further investigation into training methodologies employed by Aberdeen civilian consultants 1942-1943. Recommend formal documentation for institutional knowledge preservation. The recommendation gets filed, then forgotten, because it's 1945, war is over, nobody cares about marginal improvements to sniper doctrine. The next war is years away, maybe decades, maybe never. The Army has better things to do than chase down a civilian consultant who probably doesn't work for them anymore. 118 Zuzuru. Cliffhanger number 7. The Discovery. 1965. 20 years later, a young captain at Fort Benning is developing new marksmanship training. Vietnam is escalating. Jungle warfare requires different skills. He's researching World War II sniper performance, looking for lessons. He finds the 1945 Ordnance Department report, the one about 47 snipers who outperformed peers. The one mentioning M. Winterhawk. He's curious, does follow-up research, finds a box in Aberdeen archives. Training materials, 1942-1943. Inside 300 pages of handwritten notes. Mathematical formulas, diagrams, shooting techniques, wind reading methodology, ballistics calculations that account for variables the current Army manual doesn't mention. Handwriting is precise, meticulous, each letter formed with care. On the cover page, Precision Rifle Methodology, M. Winterhawk, February 1942. The captain reads it, then reads again, then takes it to his commanding officer. "Sir, this is better than anything we're currently teaching." The colonel examines the manual, flips through pages, stops at a section on long-range wind reading. Who wrote this? M. Winterhawk, civilian consultant, 1942. Is this person still alive? I don't know, sir. Find out. It takes 3 weeks. Military personnel records, social security records, census data, finally an address: Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota. Margaret Winterhawk, age 71, retired schoolteacher. The captain writes a letter, polite, formal, explaining the Army discovered her training manual and would like permission to incorporate it into official doctrine. 2000. Maggie's response. Maggie receives the letter on a Tuesday. She reads it 3 times. sits at her kitchen table for an hour. The Peterson rifle still leans in the corner, serial number 471003, 50 years old, still functional. She writes a response, short, direct. Captain, you may use the manual. No permission required, no attribution necessary. The mathematics belong to everyone. But understand what you're teaching is how to kill people with precision. The techniques work, the numbers don't lie, but effectiveness isn't morality. I taught 63 men to be exceptional at ending lives from distance. Most came home. Some didn't. All carry the weight. Make sure your students understand that before you teach them to shoot. Respectfully, Margaret Winterhawk. She mails it. Goes back to teaching fractions to reservation kids. Doesn't think about it again. Until 1968. 2010, the school is founded. 1968. The United States Army Sniper School is formally established at Fort Benning, Georgia. The curriculum is built on Maggie's manual. 70% of techniques come directly from her notes. Wind reading methodology, breathing discipline, ammunition selection, position discipline, range estimation, ballistics calculation for extended distance. All traced back to a notebook written by lamplight in Philadelphia in 1918. Refined through 2 wars, tested by men who staked their lives on the mathematics being correct. The school's first commandant reads the original manual during training development. He's struck by one section. A handwritten note in the margin. Different ink. Added later. Maybe 1944 or 1945. Precision is not the same as righteousness. You can calculate perfect trajectory and still kill the wrong person. Mathematics answers can we. It never answers should we. That's a question each shooter must resolve alone. The commandant includes that quote in the school's orientation lecture. Every sniper candidate hears it on day 1. Most don't understand it until much later. After first kill. After watching through a scope as a human being becomes target, becomes body, becomes statistic. After the mathematics prove correct and the ethics become complicated. 25 Surge, modern snipers, mini climax 7, 125 00 133 00. The Peterson rifles fade from service. By 1955, most are worn out. Barrels shot smooth, actions loose, 50 years old. A few survive. Collectors, museums, private collections, but the mathematics don't fade. The techniques Maggie developed become foundation of American sniper doctrine. 1980s Cold War, American snipers train for conflict that might never come. They use her formulas, her wind-reading techniques, her breathing discipline. 1990, Desert Storm. American snipers achieve engagement ranges exceeding anything in previous wars. Average range 750 yards, kill ratios 3.1, better than World War II, better than Vietnam, better than anything. Not because of better rifles, because of better mathematics. 2001, Afghanistan. War on Terror begins. American snipers push limits even further. April 2002, Operation Anaconda, Corporal Robert Furlong. Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. Makes a confirmed kill at 2,430 meters using a 50 caliber Macmillan TAC-50. Not an American, a Canadian, but trained using American doctrine. American techniques, American mathematics, Maggie's mathematics. The shot breaks the world record, held for 7 years, then broken again. 475 meters, 715 meters, 540 meters. Each new record uses techniques Maggie developed 80 years ago. Each new sniper learns from a manual she wrote in 1918. She never knows about these records. By 2002, she's 108 years old, living in a nursing home on Pine Ridge Reservation, suffering from dementia. Most days she doesn't remember her name, but on good days she remembers the Peterson rifle. She remembers Nathaniel. She remembers 378. She remembers the mathematics, always the mathematics. 1 to 3 0, the German perspective. Classified German intelligence file, declassified 1991. Stasi archives, East Berlin, subject American sniper doctrine analysis. The file includes interrogation transcripts from American prisoners during Cold War. One transcript is marked significant, American sniper. Captured during classified operation. Location redacted. Date redacted. Interrogator asks about training. American describes Fort Benning. Curriculum. Techniques. Interrogator makes notes. Then asks, these techniques, where do they originate? American responds, Winterhawk methodology. Explain Winterhawk. Winterhawk method, named after Margaret Winterhawk, Indian woman, civilian. Developed sniper doctrine during World War I. Refined through World War II. Army didn't recognize her until recently. But every American sniper learns her techniques. The interrogator writes analysis in margin, German, translated when files declassified. Conclusion: American military co-opts civilian genius without official recognition. Typical capitalist exploitation of intellectual labor. Subject: Winterhawk female indigenous minority. Never commissioned. Never formally credited. Contributions appropriated by institutional structure. Irony. Americans fear communist appropriation while practicing same systematically within military-industrial complex. The file gets archived, sits in basement 46 years. When finally declassified researcher at U.S. Army History Center reads it, she laughs, not because funny, because the East German analyst understood something the American military still struggles to acknowledge. Margaret Winterhawk was erased not despite contributions, but because of them. Too competent to ignore, too inconvenient to credit properly. Indian, woman, civilian, 3 strikes against institutional recognition. So they took her mathematics and left her name in margins. Until she was dead, until recognition was safe, until they could honor her without admitting they'd failed her. 140 turn 0, the ceremony. Mini climax 8, 40 2017. The Army finally officially credits Margaret Winterhawk, 52 years after rediscovering her manual, 72 years after she wrote it, 6 years after her death. Small ceremony at Fort Benning, dedication of plaque in Sniper School Museum. Margaret Winterhawk, 1894 to 2011, foundational architect of American sniper doctrine. Below that summary of contributions, doesn't mention Peterson rifle, doesn't mention court-martial in 1918, doesn't mention she trained snipers unofficially for decades because Army wouldn't credit her officially. Just a plaque, recognition without context. Her great-nephew attends ceremony, Nathaniel's grandson, 60 years old, retired Army. He accepts plaque on behalf of family, gives short speech. My great-aunt Margaret used to tell me mathematics doesn't care about intentions. The bullet goes where physics says it goes. What you do with that knowledge is the part that matters. She spent her life teaching precision, but she worried she was teaching death. I think she'd want you to remember both of those things. Polite applause, handshakes, photos for base newspaper. Then everyone goes back to work, training next generation of snipers, using Maggie's mathematics, carrying her legacy. Understanding or not understanding that precision cuts both ways. After the ceremony, the great-nephew walks through the museum, stops at a display case inside a Peterson rifle, serial number 86402, the rifle Nathaniel carried through World War I, not buried with him after all. The family exhumed it in 1953, felt it belonged in a museum rather than ground. The rifle is ancient now, 101 years old, too worn to fire, but still beautiful, still a precision instrument, still a testament to what happens when someone refuses to accept failure. The placard reads, Peterson Model 1913, officially withdrawn from service 1918 due to mechanical unreliability. Unofficially used by American snipers through World War II. Achieved documented kills at ranges exceeding 400 yards. The great-nephew smiles, touches the glass. You would have liked this, Aunt Maggie, he whispers. They finally admitted you were right. But he knows she wouldn't have cared about the plaque or the ceremony. She cared about the mathematics, and the mathematics are still being used, still saving lives, still ending lives, still proving that context matters more than inherent quality. 148 Surre, Maggie's final years. Margaret Winterhawk dies February 14, 2011, 117 years old, Pine Ridge Indian Health Service Hospital. South Dakota, surrounded by family, great-nieces and great-nephews, great-great-grandchildren who never quite understood what their grandmother did in the wars. She's been suffering from dementia for 5 years. Most days confused, living in memories from 80 years ago. But the day before she dies, she has a moment of clarity. Her great-niece Sarah is sitting beside her bed, holding her hand. Maggie opens her eyes, focuses. For the first time in weeks, she's present. Sarah, I'm here, Auntie. Did I do the right thing? Sarah doesn't understand the question. What do you mean, the mathematics? I taught them mathematics, 3 generations of men. They killed thousands of people because I showed them how. Was I right? Sarah doesn't know how to answer, doesn't know the full story, just fragments passed down through family. You saved lives, Auntie. Uncle Nathaniel survived because of you. Garrett Sullivan survived, Corporal Cross, hundreds of others. But how many died because I made killing efficient? How many widows? How many orphans? I don't know, Auntie. Maggie closes her eyes. Neither do I. And I've had 90 years to calculate it, but some equations don't have answers. Only consequences. She falls back asleep, dies the next morning. Peacefully. Heart simply stops. At her funeral, 17 active duty and retired snipers attend. From Army Marines National Guard, men she never met, trained by men she trained, carrying her legacy whether they know it or not. They form honor guard at her grave. Fire a 21-gun salute. Not official military honors. She was never military, but they do it anyway. Because they understand debt. The mathematics saved their lives. The woman who wrote them deserves recognition, even if she never wanted it. 155 Zodrer. Return to Gothic Line. Emotional climax. 155 Zerd 1620. Let's return to where we started. September 12, 1944. Gothic Line. Italy. After the shot. After Weber fell. After they displaced. Evening. Maggie sits alone on hillside 3 miles from where Weber fell. Cross and Sullivan are with unit, celebrating. Impossible shot verified. Mathematics proven. Maggie doesn't celebrate. She opens her notebook, the one she's kept since 1918. Every formula and correction and lesson. She makes new entry. Cross E, 475 yards. German officer, Peterson number 23891, wind 8 mph variable, temp 18C, first shot kill. Longest confirmed sniper kill European theater. Theory continues to match reality. Long-range precision remains viable with proper calculation and training. Mathematics work, but mathematics don't justify. Weber was 42 years old, had a wife, probably had children, was standing on ridge doing his job when I calculated how to end him. The bullet went where I said it would go. Perfect trajectory, perfect windage, perfect result, but perfect describes accuracy, not morality. I've now taught 3 generations of men to kill with precision. WWII, WW2, and boys I trained at Aberdeen who'll fight next war. How many dead I stopped counting at 1,000, stopped trying to separate enemy soldiers from human beings. The mathematics are clean, the conscience is blood. Was this what Dad intended when he taught me to shoot elk at 600 yards? Was this what university intended when they taught me ballistics? I solved the problem. Made American snipers most effective in world. Saved Allied lives by ending Axis lives efficiently. Mission accomplished. Cost unable to look at equations without seeing bodies. If there's another war, I hope someone else does this work. I'm done teaching mathematics that kill. She closes the notebook, sits in Italian darkness. Artillery rumbles in distance. Someone else's war continuing. She's 50 years old, too tired, too haunted by efficiency of her own calculations. Tomorrow she'll go back to work, train more snipers, calculate more trajectories, turn more men into precision instruments. But tonight she lets herself feel the weight. 3 generations of dead, all falling exactly where mathematics predicted, all because young woman in Philadelphia couldn't let a rifle die. Sullivan finds her, sits down without asking. They watch darkness together. Finally, Sullivan speaks. "Ma'am, you're thinking about Weber. He had a family, Sullivan. Someone loved him. Someone will mourn him. And I calculated how to kill him from 1.5 miles away, with cold precision, like solving a physics problem. He was enemy officer coordinating artillery that's killed dozens of our men. If you hadn't calculated that shot, he'd be alive and Americans would be dead. I know the logic. I've been reciting it for 26 years. It doesn't make the mathematics feel clean." Sullivan doesn't respond immediately. He's been with her long enough to know when to be quiet. Finally, "Ma'am, if it helps, I've been thinking about this since 1918, since the first kill I made with your training, and I've concluded something." "What's that?" "The fact that you feel the weight means you're doing it right. The day killing becomes easy, the day the mathematics feel clean, that's the day we've lost something important. Your guilt is proof you haven't forgotten they're human." Maggie considers this. "That's cold comfort, Sullivan." "Yes, ma'am, but it's the only comfort there is." They sit in silence. The darkness doesn't offer absolution. It never does. Only the mathematics answer, and the mathematics only say, yes, the bullet will hit. Never, yes, you should fire. That's the part Maggie couldn't calculate. The part that haunts her. The part that will haunt her until she dies 67 years later. But tomorrow she'll teach again, because the mathematics save lives even as they take lives, because precision matters in a world of chaos, because someone has to carry the weight, and Maggie Winterhawk, for all her doubts, carries it better than anyone. 162 Huzurah. Final Epilogue. The Answer. 2017. 6 years after Maggie's death. The ceremony at Fort Benning continues, after speeches, after plaque dedication, after press photos. The commandant of the sniper school pulls Maggie's great-nephew aside. "I want to show you something," he says. They walk to his office. He opens a safe, removes a folder, inside the original 300-page manual. Maggie's handwriting, 1918. "We keep this here," the commandant says. "Original document, foundation of everything we teach." He flips to the last page. The great-nephew hasn't seen this before. It's a single paragraph, added in different ink, written much later, maybe 1960s or 1970s. He reads final thoughts 40 years later. "I've been asked many times, were you right to teach precision killing? Was the mathematics worth the blood? I don't have an answer. Not one that satisfies. But I know this precision is morally neutral. A scalpel saves lives and ends lives depending on the surgeon's intent. Mathematics are the same. They're tools, powerful tools. The question isn't whether we should teach precision. The question is whether we can teach wisdom alongside it, whether we can raise shooters who understand that every equation has a human cost, who calculate not just trajectory but consequence. I tried. I don't know if I succeeded, but I know that imprecise killing is worse than precise killing. Random bullets kill children and civilians. Precision bullets properly used end threats while minimizing collateral damage. So perhaps the answer is this: teach the mathematics, but teach the weight too. Make them carry both. That's the best I can offer. Margaret Winterhawk, age 78, 1972. The great-nephew reads it twice. She never stopped wrestling with it, the commandant says, even in her 70s, even after most people would have made peace and moved on. That sounds like Aunt Maggie. We read this to every graduating class, after they've finished training, before they deploy. We want them to understand becoming a sniper isn't just technical training. It's moral training. You're learning to kill with precision. That's a weight. Carry it properly or it crushes you. The great-nephew nods, understanding something for the first time. His great-aunt didn't teach killing. She taught responsibility. The mathematics were just the delivery mechanism. 168 Sudra. Full circle. Return to the beginning. Gothic Line. September 12, 1944. 8 seconds after Corporal Elijah Cross pulls the trigger. We've been here before, at the beginning, in the cold open. But now we understand. The bullet traveling 475 yards isn't just physics. It's 26 years of mathematics, of refinement, of testing, of teaching. It's Maggie's guilt over Thaddeus Blackstone. It's Nathaniel's 378 confirmed kills. It's 47 Peterson rifles saved from destruction. It's 300 pages written by lamplight in Philadelphia. It's 2 wars and 3 generations of snipers. It's court-martial and erasure and eventual recognition. It's the question: was precision worth the blood? The bullet arrives before the sound. Weber drops. Sullivan confirms, "Holy Mother of God, you hit him." Cross opens his eyes. "Did I? You hit him," Sullivan says. "Center mass, he's down." Maggie is already breaking down position, packing scope. They need to move before German mortars range them. But before they do, Cross turns to her. "Ma'am, that was mathematics," Maggie says quietly. "Just mathematics. The bullet went where I calculated it would go. It always does. That's not remarkable. That's physics. But ma'am, no one else bothered to do the calculation properly. That's the only difference. Physics doesn't care who does the math. It just cares that the math is correct." They displace, move fast through scrub brush. Behind them, German shells start falling. Too late. They're already gone. 174-0. The final word. Resolution 174-0-180-0. Margaret Winterhawk, 1894-2011. 117 years old. Direct students trained 127 WWI and WW2 combined. Indirect students trained by her students estimated 3,400 plus. Confirmed enemy casualties attributable to her methodology. 200 plus conservative estimate. Allied casualties prevented by precise sniper fire 3,000 plus estimated. Official military recognition during lifetime $0.00 medals, 1 court-martial, 1 fine years. Spent teaching reservation children 62 students who became engineers, scientists, teachers, teen. Peterson rifles she personally saved, 12. Peterson rifles used in WWII because she saved them, 47 current value of surviving. Peterson rifles with documented military use. $50 1,000 plus legacy foundation of modern American sniper doctrine. Every U.S. military sniper since 1968 trained using techniques she developed. The question she asked herself for 93 years, was the precision worth the blood? The mathematics say yes. Precision saves lives, reduces collateral damage, ends threats efficiently. But Margaret Winterhawk to her death remained uncertain, and perhaps that uncertainty was the most important answer of all. Perhaps the wisdom wasn't in the mathematics. Perhaps the wisdom was in the doubt. Because precision without doubt becomes cruelty. Mathematics without conscience becomes murder. Efficiency without ethics becomes atrocity. Maggie Winterhawk taught precision. But more importantly, she taught weight. She taught that every calculation has a consequence, that every equation has a human cost, that the bullet going where you calculated it would go is physics. But choosing to fire that bullet is something else entirely. That's not mathematics, that's morality. And morality doesn't have formulas. The Peterson rifle sits in museum case at Fort Benning, serial number 86402, 101 years old, weathered, worn, too old to fire, but still beautiful, still a precision instrument, still a testament to what happens when someone refuses to accept that failure is final. The placard has been updated since the 2017 ceremony. Now it reads, Peterson Model 1913, rifle serial number 86402, carried by Corporal Nathaniel Winterhawk, highest-scoring American sniper of World War I. 378 confirmed kills, trained by his sister Margaret Winterhawk, civilian ballistics engineer and foundational architect of American sniper doctrine. Techniques she developed in 1918 remain basis of U.S. military sniper training today. Margaret Winterhawk taught that precision is a tool. How we use it defines us. She taught mathematics, but more importantly, she taught wisdom. This rifle represents both. And beneath that, in smaller letters, a quote from Maggie's 1972 addendum. Precision is morally neutral. The question isn't whether we should teach it. The question is whether we can teach wisdom alongside it. Visitors to the museum stop at the display, read the placard, look at the rifle. Most move on after 30 seconds, but some stand longer. Reading carefully, thinking about implications, a few ask questions. Why is this rifle so important? What makes it different from others? And the museum guide, if they're good, tells the story, not just of the rifle, but of the woman who saved it. Not just of the mathematics, but of the weight. Not just of precision, but of wisdom. Because that's the real legacy, not the 378 confirmed kills, not the 2 475-yard shot, not the foundation of American sniper doctrine. The real legacy is the question Maggie Winterhawk asked herself every day for 93 years, was I right? And the answer she never fully accepted but always carried, I don't know. But I tried to be. That's the legacy. Uncertainty paired with responsibility. Doubt paired with duty. Precision paired with wisdom. The mathematics go where they go. The conscience carries the weight. Both are necessary. Both are Maggie's gift. The end. Final image. An empty hillside in Italy. Gothic line, 2024. 80 years after the shot. The land has healed. Grass grows where shells fell. Trees grow where men died. But if you know where to look, you can still find the spot. 2 to 25 yards from where Weber fell. Where Maggie Winterhawk sat with notebook and scope and calculated how to end a life from 1.5 miles away. There's no marker, no plaque, no recognition, just earth and grass and wind. The same wind she measured 80 years ago, still blowing, still variable, still indifferent to the mathematics of killing. And maybe that's appropriate because the wind doesn't remember, the earth doesn't remember, only the mathematics remember and the conscience, always the conscience.